Outlook. You know, Kentucky, of course, is known for its sports, its horses, its Corvettes, and music. Roots music, American roots music. We're talking about bluegrass music. And coming up on the program today, we're going to hear about an exciting expansion underway to bring bluegrass to the world. In addition, we're going to find out how Kentucky's children benefit. Kentucky Outlook is next. Stay with us. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Outlook. I'm Barbara Deeb. We're glad you joined us. You know, as the city of Owensboro is about to embark on a $64 million riverfront renovation, bluegrass music fans are going to benefit from a new state-of-the-art museum and hall of fame scheduled to open in the fall of 2017. It's going to be called the Bluegrass Center. We're going to hear more about that. And with weekly bluegrass shows, an internationally recognized annual festival, music lessons, archives, and more, the legacy of bluegrass lives on. We're going to find out more about that with three people in the know as we find out more about bluegrass in the state of Kentucky. Welcome to the program, if you will, Katie Keller. Katie Keller joins us. She's with the International Bluegrass Music Museum. So IBMM, we'll just call it that from this point forward, right?
Yes.
Chris Langdon joins us as well. He is the promotions person there. In addition, Mike Simpson joins us. He is chairman of the board of directors of the International Bluegrass Music Museum and also works on ROMP. Thanks for being here, Mike.
Thank you.
Before we get into all the amazing things that are taking place and happening, let's talk a little bit about bluegrass, okay? You have a beautiful familial connection to music and bluegrass. Share that with us.
My mother's family is from Rosine, Kentucky, just 40 miles up the road from Bowling Green and 30 miles south of Owensboro in Ohio County. And my great-grandfather, Cleveland Bays, played the fiddle, and one of his good friends that he played with was Pendleton Vanderveer, commonly known in bluegrass circles as Uncle Pen.
Uncle Pen.
And that was Bill Monroe's uncle, and Bill Monroe went to live with him in his early teens, and he talks about going to my grandfather's place to hear Uncle Pen and my great-grandfather play music. So my family, my father's family and my mother's family are all musicians, play roots music, bluegrass music, and it must have skipped my generation, but that's my interest in it. I have a lifelong immersion in this music, grew up with it, and it's really exciting to see what is taking place with roots music in the United States, but particularly with bluegrass music in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and most notably in Owensboro.
Absolutely. So you're giving back in a different way.
Yes.
You're giving back in a different way. We're going to find out more about that. Now, Katie and Chris, exciting things are going on in Owensboro. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but let's talk bluegrass for a little while. So, you know, we know when we hear the name bluegrass, Bill Monroe comes to mind. But if you look at the origins of bluegrass music, American roots music, it was there before Bill Monroe was there. So
Absolutely.
Share that story.
Well, it's interesting because bluegrass is from all over the globe, really. It's an American art form, but it came from Africa, from Italy, from Spain. So it's just brought all of these beautiful countries and arts together, and that's, I think, what bluegrass is. And the museum really showcases that, this timeline of immigrant music and landing in Appalachia and now
Right.
what
And
we know as bluegrass.
And then we talked a little bit before we got started, Chris, I'm going to put you on the spot, about, the different genres of bluegrass music. So, there's not just, as you indicated, one art form.
Yeah, one of the best things about bluegrass music that I personally think is as it continues to grow and change, there's a respect at the core with a lot of the young musicians that you don't see in a lot of other genres. So as it continues to change, you have your traditionals with Bill Monroe and Flatt and Scruggs, and growing now into more mainstream artists with Old Crow Medicine Show, the Punch Brothers, even groups like the Avett Brothers and Mumford and Sons, who have spread this far beyond possibly what the original forefathers of the music thought. but they keep it at its core, and there's a lot of respect for it, and you can see the most progressive newgrass artist can also get right in a picking circle and play the same, old time songs, and it keeps the cycle going very well.
So if one were trying to define bluegrass, it would be a difficult definition.
Right now, definitely, yeah.
Uh-huh. What about the popularity? You mentioned the Avett Brothers, Mumford and Sons, who are kind of bringing a new generation to this kind of music. Since the popularity of those groups, have you seen a renewed interest?
Absolutely, and it's wonderful for the whole genre, for the whole thing. There's a lot of different avenues to take to find your way to this music. I myself personally stumbled upon going to a bluegrass festival for the first time and was instantly hooked. And we see that with a lot of other people. So, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to share our love with it, with everyone else. And it's easy. It's real easy to get hooked.
Uh-oh, the addiction show is going to be next week. Let's talk a little bit how the International Bluegrass Music Museum landed in Owensboro, Kentucky. Because you talk about Rosine, you talk about the father of bluegrass, Bill Monroe. A lot of people might think it would be landing in Rosine, but how did it come to be in Owensboro?
Yeah, the genesis of this really started with I think, with Terry Woodward, a local businessman in Owensboro, Kentucky, who owned a very successful chain of record stores called Disc Jockey Records. And Terry was heavily involved in the music business, and Owensboro really is the closest large city to Rosine. And he had the idea, along with some others, to create the IBMA, the International Bluegrass Music Association, which is a trade association for the artists, along with the International Bluegrass Music Museum. And both of those coincided in Owensboro for a number of years before IBMA moved their headquarters from Owensboro, and they now are in Nashville, Tennessee. But I think the real genesis of this can be traced to Terry Woodward and Owensboro, recognizing this genre of music and the need to protect, preserve, and promote this for generations to come.
That's exciting. And as we mentioned, there's a groundbreaking soon for a huge new Bluegrass Music Center. We're going to talk about that later in the half hour. But if I were to go to the International Bluegrass Music Museum as it exists right now in Owensboro, Kentucky, what would I find? What would I see, and what would I come away with?
There's a little bit of everything. The history, we have a timeline of the history of bluegrass music when it first came over into America. Right now we have a really fun interactive exhibit where you can learn how to dance and flatfoot dancing and...
Can you flatfoot dance, both of you?
No, but there's a DVD and you can learn, and so we've got a great exhibit on the Delmore Brothers currently, and the neat thing is that we have exhibits that change every year. So we open a new exhibit every June with Romp, and coming up we're going to do one on Tom T and Dixie Hall. And Tom T donated so many artifacts that we are going to display, and it's just, so it's always changing, and there's so much out there, so much history.
And do you think if you come away with something different each time?
I mean, I see, we see guests that come into the museum who have been through several times, and that's the reason. It's the type of museum, typically self-guided. We do offer guided tours as well. But you can spend a couple hours in there and, kind of really get the gist, see everything that you want to see. But we have many guests who stay the whole entire day, who may come back the next day. During Romp, we offer free admission to the museum. We have a lot of folks. So you can come down and take a quick visit and see, but you can really, really dive deep into everything we have. We have a video oral history project, series of documentaries. We have our archives. I mean, just tons of information that we all personally take advantage of. I mean, we're all learning on a daily basis, and it keeps it fun.
And it keeps, there's more that keeps coming to learn. Romp stands for?
It was originally the River of Music Party. It was held on the river in Owensboro, and has since moved to Yellow Creek Park, which is a wonderful, wonderful home, and we kept the acronym ROMP, and we kept it going.
Kept it going, and we're going to talk more about ROMP and so many other exciting things. I think, Mike, one of the things that you said that's so significant is, of course, the legacy of bluegrass music. And you don't have to be a Kentuckian, born and raised here, to appreciate the roots and how deep they run. Children are a very integral part of that, aren't they?
They are indeed. And You know, I was first at the Bluegrass Festival when I was probably 10 years old in Bean Blossom, Indiana, and that was a festival. It still goes on today, but that was Bill Monroe's primary Bluegrass Festival. And Bluegrass festivals historically have been a place for families. So it's not uncommon to see children being exposed to this genre of music at a very young age through these festival experiences.
Absolutely. And sadly, in the schools, as a result of budget cuts, when it comes time for the acts, a lot of music education programs get axed. But through the International Bluegrass Music Museum, Bluegrass in the Schools is bringing it back. We're going to talk about that when Outlook returns right after this. Outlook continues. I'm Barbara Deeb. We've got a fun conversation today. We're talking about bluegrass music, and in particular about plans to renovate and bring a brand new state-of-the-art facility to Owensboro for the International Bluegrass Music Museum. Joining us in the studio, Mike Simpson, Chris Langdon, and Katie Keller, all representing the IBMM. So when the renovation happens and the new building is there, that acronym's not going to work anymore, is it? It's going to be the International Bluegrass Music Center?
I don't know that we're really sold on that name quite yet, but it'll always be the Museum and Hall of Fame. So
there you go. And we're going to talk more about that. But first, before the break, we were talking about the significance of bluegrass music, the legacy, the roots, and the familial part of that, how important it is to keep that going. We also talked about how music education, unfortunately, gets the budget axe in many states. But in the state of Kentucky, if you're fortunate to live in the Owensboro area, there's something called Bluegrass in the Schools.
It's a program that was started about 10 years ago. We visit roughly 25 schools over a 2-week period. It's an incredibly fun marathon where we do 2 or 3 shows a day. A lot of scrambling around, but it's one of the most rewarding things I get to do throughout my year. It's wonderful, a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And guess what? On January 5th, we sent a crew to Owensboro where the Riggs, now the Rondo Riggs, group. And by the way, how do you choose or how do you decide who's going to represent in the schools?
We look at a lot of different candidates. Typically, there are a lot of musicians who have worked in similar programs before. The Riggs have actually done work with the State Department and music education and have been all around the world and to several different countries. So not only were they really well prepared, they did a fantastic job. They really, really did a great job.
And guess what? Through the magic of television, let's take a look. Let's go to Sutton Elementary School backwards, January 5th, as we see the Riggs present to about 350 kids. Take a look, won't you? The Riggs.
We're gonna dance a little bit. We're gonna teach you guys how to dance. Does that sound like fun? All right, awesome. Well, we're gonna just introduce ourselves here. Over here on the bass, we have Nick. Can everyone say hello to Nick? Hello, everybody. So Duncan gave it away, but did you catch the name of this instrument? The bass. Yeah. So the bass plays all the low notes. Right? How about this, guys? Can you play some bass along with me? Boom. In the air. Boom. Boom.
Take your left hand and put it up in the air. Now turn it sideways. There you go. Take your right hand and take your pointer finger and your middle finger together and make them walk like they're a little person. Now take them and put them right here next to your belly. And walk those fingers.
So there you have it, Bluegrass in the Schools, Sutton Elementary, Owensboro, Kentucky, January 5th, as the International Bluegrass Music Museum brought bluegrass to the schools. Now, Chris Langdon, who is the promotions director at the IBMM, you're the one, you say it's just such a fun event to plan this. You go into 25 schools. That's a lot of schools. That's a lot of kids.
There's a lot of planning that goes into it. You know, a lot of different people come together. Randy Lanham, who is the education director for our museum, who is an extremely valuable resource to Owensboro. He works with a lot of different people, and he's great. He helps us put the schedule together, and we make our way around. Like I said, the group this year, the Rigs, they did a fantastic job really engaging the kids, really getting them involved, getting hands-on, getting them up and dancing. And that's the kind of stuff that we're really looking to do, you know, get them excited about what we have going on. And I'll tell you, when they stand up and they ask the entire crowd of kids, can anyone tell me who the father of bluegrass music is? And 300 kids get excited and scream Bill Monroe. And it's wonderful. It's exactly what we're looking to do.
Well, in addition, research indicates that if you expose children at an early age to music, a whole lot of wonderful things happen. They increase and improve their cognitive skills, and if nothing else, they get a great appreciation for music. Now, clarify something, because the idea behind Bluegrass in the schools is something that is supported by the International Bluegrass Music Museum. As a member of the board, this is something that you like to promote as well.
Absolutely. It is, and this idea originated with our former director, Gabrielle Gray, and the board is 100% behind the initiative to keep music education in the schools. We just happen to be the Bluegrass Museum, so it's easiest for us to promote that genre. But really, it's about music education. If some student out there is inspired to go on and become the next Marcus Mumford or Beyonce or anyone else, and the genesis was through Bluegrass in the schools, what a wonderful outcome that would be.
One of our radio reporters and anchors was also at this event and did a radio piece, a complimentary radio piece, and he went to interview just two random young women, girls, and said to them, you know, do you like music? And the one said, yes, I've been taking viola lessons for 3 years, and the other one played the mandolin. So yes, exposing children to music at an early age. So it's more about that appreciation as it is, it's not all about the bluegrass. We're not shoving bluegrass down their throats.
Absolutely, and it's like we said, I mean, obviously bluegrass is our focus as the museum, but you know, we can take pride in knowing that the Owensboro Symphony has a youth symphony outreach. A lot of these kids are getting exposure to string instruments, all kinds of music, and so you know, you have kids who are becoming classically trained on violin or cello, and they're seeing a different side of it, and we want them to explore every aspect of it, and if we can be a part of that at all, I mean, that's a goal.
Well, we're going to continue talking more about the International Bluegrass Music Museum. When we come back, we're going to find out about plans for a brand new renovation, a brand new center, and also the fact that kids can take lessons at the museum. We'll talk more about that when Outlook continues right after this. Outlook continues. I'm Barbara Deeb. We're glad that you joined us. On the program today, we're talking about bluegrass as a genre, but in particular about the International Bluegrass Music Museum located in Owensboro, Kentucky. We have three individuals in the know joining us today to share that story. In addition to Mike Simpson, we welcome Chris Langdon and Katie Keller. And now some exciting things. At the head of the show, we talked about the fact that Owensboro is undergoing this huge renovation of sorts on its riverfront. And thankfully, dead center in the middle of all that is this renovation, this brand new Bluegrass Museum. So who wants to share that story?
I'll start and hand it over to Katie, but Ron Payne is the mayor of Owensboro, and he's had a great vision for the revitalization and redevelopment of downtown Owensboro, and the business community, along with the leaders of city and county government, have made the decision to make the Bluegrass Music Museum the centerpiece of this downtown redevelopment.
That's exciting right there. So that having been said, what happens next?
Yeah, well, we break ground in May, and we hope to be finished by fall 2017. It's a $15.9 million project. Wow. And there's just some incredible opportunities. We're going to have about triple the exhibit space. We're going to have a restaurant on top that overlooks the Ohio River. There's a 500-seat state-of-the-art theater where we will have weekly shows every Saturday, have a bluegrass Opry in a way that will be broadcast all over the world. There's a 2,000 seat amphitheater outside. There's classroom space. I mean, it's just the premier site for bluegrass.
Wow, that's a lot of, and every time you said something, it was like, oh, it just got better. So $15.9 million, where did that money come from?
A lot of different places, but a lot of private donors that we went out and solicited to, and that support bluegrass and really see the dream and are ready to see it end. And then also the city of Owensboro gave a ton of money. As Mike said, Mayor Payne has just really believed in this dream of bluegrass, and so they gave about $5.9 million, and then the governor gave the remaining $5 million. So the state of Kentucky came together.
The previous governor.
The previous governor,
Governor
yes.
Beshear.
Governor Beshear.
So, because now we're looking at budget
That's
cuts
right.
with under the new governor, but this funding is secured for this
That's
facility
correct.
in Owensboro.
Yes.
So no panic there.
No.
Panic
No.
there. So let's talk a little bit about what we'll see with this new. You talked about some of the wonderful attributes. What's this going to mean, not only to Owensboro, but to the world of bluegrass?
Well, it's going to enable the music lovers, irrespective of your taste, to come and learn about the history of this one specific genre. But with the additional space, we'll be able to exhibit more artifacts. And we're in discussions now to digitize our video oral history program, where you can go in much like a Google search and type in Lester Flat, and it will give you a menu of different opportunities to view video either of Lester Flat or someone mentioning Lester Flat. You could type in people that have been influenced by bluegrass music. People like Buddy Holly and Elvis Presley were both heavily influenced by bluegrass music. As a matter of fact, Elvis Presley's for one of his first releases was Blue Moon of Kentucky. And so it's going to give people the opportunity to learn about this music in a hands-on way.
In a hands-on way. We're just about out of time. I think we'll give Katie the final word. So to our audience, you would say, get to Owensboro, take a look?
Yes, come visit us. We're still going to be around in our current facility, and we've got a lot going on. Of course, aside from Romp in June, we have monthly concerts to help benefit the museum. We have guided tours, so I think there's a lot to come see, and I hope that people will visit us, and then certainly when the new facility is built.
Romp, okay, that's coming up in June. Who's the
Yes.
headliner? Who do we have headlining?
Right now, we've got Del McCurry and Sam Bush, Jerry Douglas presenting the Earls of Leicester, and infamous String Dusters, and we have a lot more to announce. We
More
haven't
to come.
released it all yet, so I recommend getting on our website, our social media, and waiting patiently.
Waiting patiently, and we're going to put up that information at the end of the show. A very special thanks to sharing the story of bluegrass and the International Bluegrass Music Museum in Owensboro. We've welcomed Mike Simpson to the program, Katie Keller, and Chris Langdon. That's going to wrap it up for this week's edition of Outlook. I'm Barbara Deeb. We're glad you joined us.